Ray, let's go back in your school experience and ask you this question. Do you believe that athletics, now you participated in it as an individual, do you believe that athletics opened the doors to a college degree for you?
Yes, it definitely did for me, Tom. It would have been impossible for me, being from a large family, to have gone to college had it not been for athletics. Mm-hmm. That is true.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've heard it said that some schools take advantage of the black athlete, and black athletes, some of them feel that way, that when they go on to school, even though they're getting a free ride for basketball or football, they're taken advantage of. Do you believe this is true any more than with a white athlete?
I can't say that it's any more true than it is for the white athletes, Tom. And I'm sure all schools don't practice this, exploiting blacks or whites in athletics. But I'm sure that some exploitation does come about for both blacks and whites.
One no more than the other?
I think not.
Yes. Now, of course, when you were having state championship teams as coach at Crispus Attucks High School and dealing with the black athlete all the time, I know that you probably opened the doors to recruiters coming in because you wanted to see your athletes get a college education, didn't you?
Right, that is true. We were very happy to make contacts with the universities and colleges over the country who are interested in our athletes coming to their schools. And I can say in all honesty that during those years and the recruiting that was going on, I don't think was any intention of exploiting any of those boys in any ways. And I can say most of those boys graduated from college, got their degrees, and are out in their respective communities now as contributing, worthwhile citizens.
And certainly better citizens because of their experience in athletics.
Right. I'm definitely one that is sold on athletics and what it can do for youngsters.
Well, let's talk about athletics and what you learned as you participated and coached, and well, with what you're doing today in business and also in the state legislature. What are the things you learned as a young man and as a coach that stand you in good stead in business and in the House of Representatives?
Right. Actually, Tom, both I think is a selling job, especially in business and in the House here. But I believe there's much to be gained in athletics by youngsters who participate that can be carried over into later life, especially learning how to cooperate and work together, which is very important in athletics, and also carries over in later life. We have to know how to work and get along with people.
Teamwork.
Teamwork, right. And I think that's one of the important lessons learned in athletics. And there are others, such as a good mental attitude. I think that's very important in athletics and in anything we do. And I think that's learned very definitely in athletics, having a good mental attitude toward the people that you're working with and toward the sports, if it's in basketball or your business or what have you.
Now, you retired as coach and athletic director at Crispus Attucks High School at a very young age. That gray hair, Ray, doesn't mean a thing in your instance, and you are in the business world now. And could you tell us what you're doing and what company you're with?
That is true, Tom. I've been in the business world now for the past 2 years, and I am vice president of Summit Laboratories, which is a hair cosmetic firm, and I am in charge of purchasing and inventory control. Mm-hmm. Very interesting job. I like it very much, and it's more or less a carryover the area that I'm working in from what I was doing in the school system, working as athletic director, purchasing and overseeing the inventory and so forth.
I'm not going to ask you who's going to win the state basketball tournament this year, because when you were a coach, you never told me the truth, even when Attucks won a couple of times.
Well, I'm not going to commit myself too much here, Tom, but I'll just say that I think the state champ's coming out of Indianapolis this year.
You got it started. you were the first, and then Washington picks up one. It's
Right.
easier once you get the first one.
That is true. And as everyone knows all over the state, that our caliber of basketball here in Indianapolis and Marion County is much better than it used to be, and on the par with any of the others around over the state.
While we're talking about sports, and this is something that happened at track and field at Mexico City, covering the Olympic Games, and there's been a lot of reaction to it, and I haven't asked this question before, but, you know, Carlos and Smith, two black athletes, in my opinion at least, showed disrespect for the flag of the United States. What was your opinion about that?
Tom, my personal opinion about that was that that did show disrespect for the flag of the United States. And although I have to admire those young men if they have a cause that they feel so strongly about and they want to fight for, but I just thought that was not the place nor the time to carry on this fight.
You believe then that in fighting for just causes?
Yes, I very definitely do.
And I imagine this comes up quite often in the state legislature.
Yes, it does, and everyone has a just cause that they're fighting for, and of course it's always hard to see the other fellow's side, but we have to be reasonable, broad-minded, open-minded, and try to see the other fellow's side also.
Ray, that's a very good philosophy, and I know that many of your former athletes have that same philosophy, and I hope that by expressing it on Channel 6 on our Courage to Conquer series, that you and your life will be an inspiration to others just as it has been to me.
Well, I hope so, Tom. I try to always be an inspiration, especially to youngsters. I always enjoyed teaching and working with youngsters, and hope I have contributed something that's going to be worthwhile to them.
You know, just one more little question, Ray. I know that some of the older folks think that, you know, the younger ones are causing trouble all the time, but I sort of think it's like, well, you know, you never hear about the happy marriages. It's always the unhappy marriages, right? And I think that applies to our younger people, don't you?
That is right, Tom. We read in the papers and hear about the bad that is done by the younger people, and every time there's one bad one, there's thousands and thousands of good ones out there that are doing good things, and we should give them more pats on the back and hear more about the good things that are being done.
A team that we've watched with interest during this high school basketball season is Greenfield High School, where Joe Stanley is the head man. Joe, let's get up to date on you, first of all. Where have you done your coaching, and where'd you go to college?
Well, Tom, I attended Ball State University, and then out of Ball State, I went to Georgia Military Academy down in Atlanta, Georgia, and taught and coached there 3 years. And then came back to Indiana. I wanted to get back to Indiana basketball, so I came back to Liberty, Indiana, and was there the past 5 years, where the last year we won the regional at Connersville. And then last year I came here. This is my second year at Greenfield.
Now let's mention that, of course, we're hoping to look forward to seeing your team along the tournament trail, and you've got a great record this year as you enter this IHSAA tournament. Got an outstanding star in Mike Edwards, averaging about 40 points a ball game. We'll talk about Mike later on. Well, let's talk about what I consider really more important things than victories and defeats, Joe. And that's the influence of you and the influence of the basketball players in any given community. How does it go for you here in Greenfield?
Real great, Tom. The fans here are tremendous. The young men that we have here participating in athletics, not only basketball, but in the other areas, they do a tremendous job, and not only on the basketball floor or football field, but these young men are doing a whale of a job in the classroom. It's just a high-caliber individual.
Yes. Do you believe that athletics today draws a high-caliber student, or at least makes a high-caliber individual out of them before they graduate?
I believe so, Tom. It's like the young men I've been associated with prior to coming to Greenfield and here at Greenfield. These young men have to pay a price not only in athletics, but in the classroom today to play. So, and plus the discipline that it teaches these young men. We're not easy on them out here, and they have to go home in the evening and hit those books and do all the other things that the other young men have to, and not participate in athletics. So it's just an overload on them, which they handle beautifully. And as far as the community, they're out working in the community. They're working with these young guys in the summertime, and it's just a great feeling to be associated with something such as basketball and athletics.
Now let's talk about Mike Edwards. You know, we hear about him averaging 40 points a ball game wrong in there, and I just really can't believe that. As you look over the stars of the past few years here in the state of Indiana, who would you compare him to, you know, high school graduates?
I think we'd have to compare him to Rick Mount. I don't see anyone else that you could compare Mike Edwards to. He's a fine shooter, a fine leader, and just an overall good basketball player.
Mm-hmm. Where does he take most of his shots?
Tom, he's shooting from 20 and 25 feet out, but also
still hitting that percentage.
Yes, sir. He hit 51% last year from a forward spot and led our ball club in rebounding. This year, from a guard spot, he's second in rebounding.
Well, let's bring Mike Edwards in. Come on, hustle out here, Mike. We've been talking about this high-scoring fella, and he, in fact, you mentioned compare him to Rick Mount. He almost looks like him, doesn't he? Keep your head right in here so I can see it. That's the way. Get a good light on it. Mike, I know Rick Mount and the other great ball players spend a lot of time in practice, you know, away from the gym. Have you been doing this?
Yes, this summer I practiced quite a bit outdoors, along with practicing in the gym.
Mm-hmm. But I know you. When did you set a goal for yourself to be, you know, a top-flight basketball player?
Oh, probably when I was 3 or 4 years old.
You did. Uh-huh. Did you have to keep telling yourself that all along, or not? Or has it been fun for you?
No, it's just I just go about it every day. When I started out, my next door neighbor Bill Stecker had a basketball goal on his barn, and I went out and he'd shoot around with me when I was a little kid.
Yeah. How's the team spirit on the team? Are you one for all and all for one?
Oh, it's real good. All the other fellows helped me out quite a bit. Without them, I probably couldn't do half of what I'm doing, really.
Well, I think that's true on any great team, and certainly your team is outstanding here in the state of Indiana this year. Do you believe that being an athlete carries with it other responsibilities in the high school and in studies, and also your conduct in not only the high school but in your community?
Yeah, I think it does quite a bit. I just take basketball and my schoolwork as a business, and if I don't do well in it, it kind of bothers me. And I just try real hard in both of them.
Well, Mike, we like your attitude. We like your shooting too, and keep it up. And wherever you go, I hope you have a great collegiate career.
Thank you.
Yes, I definitely do if they find out what is needed to do the job. Consequently, they read about so-and-so getting to the big leagues in a hurry, like a lot of people. Let's take a Koufax. They think that he was always successful. Most people seem to forget that he spent 6 years on the major league bench in the major leagues with just an average record. But he had to have patience, and he had to have desire and dedication. And he had to have somebody with a motivating force to inspire him to continue to go on, because I'm sure during this time he had some heartbreaks, and probably like all ball players, he was quitting maybe every 3 or 4 months and wanting to go into something else. But the youngsters today, they have just as much patience as the old-timers did. In fact, I think they feel that they have to work harder. Because people expect more of them for some reason now, because I would say they're put on the spot more. In the old days, you could make this mistake and that mistake, and it was overlooked. But now, with the way the farm system is geared, the limited teams that we have in each team in the field, we've got to have production. We can't sometimes take this patient, but I've somehow or another feel that even I as a manager, have to have this patient, and we're too quick to judge sometimes, and the boy really doesn't get the chance.
What you're saying is, from the manager's standpoint, we sitting in the fans, you know, see a mistake that you as a manager might make on a hit-and-run situation or something like that. But managing is really deeper than that, isn't it? It's the psychology that you must be a psychologist as well as a coach with the players.
I try to be, and the one thing that I feel that is necessary as a manager to inspire my players is to give them self-confidence. Just because you make a mistake or you don't do the job this particular time, we can't quit. We have to bring this out of you. You have to get experience. The only way you get experience is by doing. If you do it once and you fail, well, that doesn't mean that you can't do the job. That's my feeling. Too many people want quick results, even from their own selves. But you get them to accept this patient idea. I know we had a boy last year in particular, wanted him to try to hit the ball to the right side. Well, then we had to go through a period where this is all he tried to do. And then we said, well, now let's go back to pulling the ball a little bit so that we can divide it up. And let's just hit to all fields. Well, first he has to learn one step at a time. And so you go through that pain with him in the next one, and then all of a sudden it just seems to fall in place, and he becomes a pretty good ball player. Pitchers. You know, they say, well, this pitcher's got a great variety of stuff. Well, first of all, you have to learn to be able to control one pitch before you can be any good at all. And this is a hard thing sometimes to teach a pitcher, because he's brought up with the idea, well, you got to have a fastball, a curveball, a changeup, a screwball. Well, how can you specialize in 4 pitches when you can't specialize in one? I mean, that's what it amounts to. So you take one step at a time.
You certainly have a wonderful philosophy, and you express yourself well, incidentally, and I understand you spent a couple of years behind a microphone in Denver.
Well, I did,
baseball.
Tom, I did, and I enjoyed it. That was quite a challenge, as I spoke to you earlier, and I just enjoy it. Baseball is my life, it's my career. Anything that I have learned over the years, I try to give to somebody else so that they can be better.
And you've done all work also in public relations. Baseball needs lots of that today, don't they?
Well, I believe so, and I think we've got some good people coming up, and once again, if the people have patience in us and our club, I'm not predicting anything. I have never been one that predict, but I will say this: if they have patience, we might not win all the ball games. We're going to be trying. But if they'll go along with us, they'll see hustle, desire, spirit. And I feel that if the fan sees us, he's paying his $1 or $2 to come out to the game to see something different. This is what we're going to give him. And plenty of excitement. As I say, we won't always win, but we'll be trying.
Now, I imagine that hustle is something that comes with an individual a lot of times. Perhaps it can be developed. But what do you say to an individual who doesn't hustle for you?
Well, I feel hustle is this way. You try to find 2 or 3 people, like, say, a Pete Rose, that has this natural born desire to be a hustler. And then it takes his effort also to pass this along to somebody else. It's easy for, hustle comes easy for Pete Rose, perhaps, because he was brought up this way. But I feel this way, that if I had a good night tonight and you had a bad night, it's easy for me to go out high. But I try to teach, well, walk over and tell Tom, well, it's your turn tomorrow night. You're going to pick us up tomorrow night, and get this feeling ignited. And once this starts, this takes time sometimes. Maybe you never accomplish it, but when you do, you have lots of fun.
Yeah. Baseball is fun. It's going to be fun to have you in Indianapolis.
Thank you.
We've been visiting with Vernon Fred Rapp, Vern Rapp, the new manager of the Indianapolis Indians. Presenting on our first Sunday afternoon series, Dr. James Counsilman. A brief conversation. First of all, let me say this. 17 Indiana University 1968 Olympians, 35 former Indiana University Olympians, 4 coaches from Indiana University who have coached Olympic teams for the United States, and 2 former performers who are now professors at Indiana University. All will be honored. And that'll be the night of February the 24th. At the Union Building here on the campus. I guess it's sort of an Olympic recognition, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, Tom, exactly. And it's at 6:30 in the Union Building, and we hope we have a real good turnout.
Well, certainly you deserve to have a great turnout. This is going to be a wonderful collection of young people, not only those on the campus at the present time, but former graduates who have gone out and made a mark for themselves in the business and coaching world. And the tickets are available. I know at the Union Building, at the when you come down for a basketball game, you can pick them up at the field house and so forth.
Right, that's right, Tom. And anybody who's interested, if they'll just write Bob Droe, or just write our athletic ticket office.
Yes. Write the athletic ticket office at Indiana University. You be here on 6:30 on February 24th. You know, Doc, looking at these freshmen and varsity performers here, I've been watching them for a couple of hours now, and it's a rather crowded pool. I understand you have to have 2 sessions, one from 1:30 in the afternoon to 3:30, and then another one starting at 3:30. Why is this? And it looks to me like you almost need more room, don't you?
Well, Tom, swimming has grown tremendously in the United States, in fact, throughout the world. And years ago, excuse me, Tom, years ago when I came to Indiana, we didn't have that much interest in swimming. There wasn't that much interest, in swimming throughout the country. And now the number of kids that have come out for swimming has tripled. We have, excuse me, we have a lot more events to train for, and we've attracted a lot of good swimmers here at Indiana University. So our first wave comes in from 1:30 to 3:30, and then our second wave comes in from 3:30 to 5:30. And the pool is just a little bit inadequate right now, Tom. We're holding the National Collegiates here in March, and I think it'll be the last time that a national collegiate meet will be held in a pool this size. There's a definite trend towards much bigger pools where they can seat more people. We seat 1,100, and I think the minimum starting soon is going to be 3,000. So everything's getting bigger, Tom, more expensive.
Yes, but it's worth it for these young kids, and we like to see bigger facilities here at Indiana University. Dr. Counsilman will be visiting with you on future Sunday afternoons, also with swimmers Charlie Hickox and Mark Spitz. And right now, our congratulations, Doctor.
Thank you, Tom.